What does it mean to lead an organization the AI way? To understand that we need to contrast traditional leadership versus AI-based leadership. Traditionally, the way you moved up in an organization was based on experience. You built teams of humans. You had the ability to understand what was going on and create teams around you. Now, change was very predictable, very incrementally, and everything was very stable. And if we give you advice on how to raise the corporate ladder, it was based on IQ and EQ. Again, IQ is the ability for you to know knowledge. EQ is based on more emotions and emotional responses. AI has upended that dramatically. Now you're working on a team not only with humans, you're working on with agents. We call this agentic AI. You're working alongside of a technology agent, and you may or may not know that to be true. That means that the way we approach our decision making has to be data driven. Now, I know you're going to say we've had this paradigm forever with analytics, and you're right to a certain point. But now we've taken it even further because the rate of disruption and innovation is happening quicker than ever before. And what that means for you is that you need to figure out how to upskill and reskill yourself and assimilate AI skills into your jobs. That's why I commend you so much for coming back to New State, a university that's focused 100% on preparing leaders for the future of AI. Because really, if we look at what's going to allow people to ascend the organization now, not only is it IQ and EQ, now we're adding one more equation, which is TQ, which is the technology quotient. You have to be able to understand AI. And as we strategize about this decision, as we strategize about what AI you should implement in your companies, we have to consider the framework of how we approach how you make decisions about IT. Now, traditionally, the way we have teach about decision making with IT is we say that organizations that will be effective are effective if their strategy, their operations, and technology all align together. It's IT business alignment. And for the entire time that I've been a faculty member as a researcher, I've used this paradigm within my MBA classes, other classes, to explain why individuals or corporations make decisions around technology. And it's held to be true. Well, AI comes about and you think, all right, let's see if this paradigm works for AI. So we came up with a list of the 10 reasons why we thought people would invest in AI. It would improve the cost structure. It would improve the well-being of their employees. I would be able to trust these decisions without having to oversee them. It wouldn't really impact my workforce too much. If it got too out of hand, then I could actually stop it. I could get some new insights and I have confidence in those insights and it's clear. It provides me new capabilities and new functionality. And if you think about it, these are logical things, right? And for 22 years, I've used a subset of these to understand why people adopt ERP or knowledge management or document management. So you would think AI is the same. For the first time, I can tell you AI is not the same. So what we made presidents of multinational companies do is we gave them a survey and we made them trade off. What if it may improve the cost structure of your organization, but you have to fire a whole lot of people? What would you do? Well, as a business professor, you always think all that they care about is money and the bottom line. Interesting, that's not what we found. We found the number reason why organizations were adopting AI was to improve the well-being of their employees. And you're going to say, well, that sounds terrible. That can't be true. That's not business-like. And I didn't believe it either, to be frank. So I decided to do some additional research and reach out to the organizations that I knew that were adopting AI at a deep level. I talked to a Fortune 50 bank, and he said, yes, we're using AI in the call center. And I said, answer solved, to cut jobs. And his response was, no, not at all, to make the call center jobs better. I said, well, how? He said, one of the big problems we have is natural language is you call into your bank and hit 1 for this, hit 2 for that. He said, it annoys everybody. So they created a natural language approach where you just talk. When you call in this bank, they say, welcome to XYZ Bank. Tell me why you're here. And it's conversational. The AI is acting like an agent, a call agent. Why? Because he said 90% of what we deal with is transferring money from the checking account to the savings account. AI can do that. So by the time that you as a caller arrive to the underlying agent, the agent knows that they're dealing with a complicated problem and they're not dealing with something very, very simple. What happened is that satisfaction among employees went up, customer retention went up. Second example, I had this other small company and they were looking at HR. They were trying to figure out how can we make our HR processes better? And they decided to start with their end of year evaluation. It's getting to that point in December, right? We're all going to get our annual reviews. So how do we make this process better? So they uploaded the review document into AI and said, how do we improve this? AI came back and said, you're doing a good job of looking backwards, but you're not looking forward. Why aren't you asking your employees, what do they want to accomplish in the next year? Then you as a company can help that happen. It made them stop and realize that they weren't being true partners to their employees. So they created a wellness program, a scholarship program, an educational program. What happened? Employee retention went up. The bottom line went up. Why? Their employees were taken care of. These findings aren't new, but AI is going to play a huge role in employee well-being moving forward. And I think we're going to hit a point where we're going to see that employee well-being is one of the most fundamentally important aspects of driving your organization's success. So why do companies implement AI? There are 5 basic reasons why companies AI: automation, knowledge, service, to build a platform, and to create a better relationship between technology and the human. Let's talk about those first 5. 1, automated. One of the reasons why organizations are adopting AI is to automate things. My investment banks use a variety of different trading platforms that requires a different manual checks and inputs. I can see us using AI to automate. We have a lot of content. If AI became more prominent, we can see a lot more articles written by AI or code written by AI, automating things. Now, in both these cases, both of these presidents said that they were not going to fire people to do this. Let me be clear. Number 2, knowledge. Deeper insights, deeper inferences. It'll mean more control over quality services. I can see nothing but improvement because of the knowledge. The knowledge. Another example. Oil and gas company uses pumps. Well, this particular gentleman that I knew said, I have all these pumps and they fail all the time. I want to know why they're failing. So he went to the CEO and said, I need some money to begin to understand why our pumps are failing. The way that the process worked in the company is they sent a technician out, and the technician would fix it, and they would complete a work order. He had 40 years of work order. He basically had an entire football field of work orders, and he wanted to figure out what was happening. Well, the CEO, of course, wasn't having it. So as a pet project, he scanned it all in, used OCR, and then he began to understand why his pumps were failing. He got so amazing with what he did. He actually figured out not only why they were failing, he could predict when they were going to fail. That's knowledge. That's insight. By the way, he ended up getting funding for that project. Number 3, service. Chatbots. How do I create personalized interactions with customer service? That's service enhancement. Number 4, how can I actually integrate AI into my company? So for example, I think there may be very few jobs handled by people, a few people at a high level, and a lot of AI experts. Lastly, AI-human symbiosis. This is where we're going to see human and agentic AI truly working together. Now that sounds really overwhelming, right? Because that's the end. But I think what we're going to see is most companies are starting with automation, going to knowledge and analytics, then to service, and then to that deeper level as well. This pathway is the pathway that I project AI will evolve. But not every company will be the same. Some companies will just pursue one of those 5. Others will pursue multiple ones. What's the difference? Typically, if you're a small to medium-sized company, you'll go with one of them, with one priority, one execution mechanism, one governance. The problem is the benefits that you will achieve will be very narrow, and you may not learn from that process as well. In contrast, most large organizations are going to go with 2, 3, or 4 of those simultaneously. That's going to give them synergy and accelerate innovation. But the problem is that's going to become complicated very, very quickly. So why are companies doing it? 5 competitive advantages that we foresee from AI. 1 is operational efficiency. 2 is customer service, innovation, decision-making, and speed and agility. This is what we believe will come as you embrace AI inside of your organization, as long as you can overcome the barriers: money, talent, skills, data, culture, and legal. The big ones. Cost. This is not cheap. If you look right now, you see that there's the recent survey from MIT found that about 50% of organizations are seeing low ROI from their deployment of generative AI. Gartner has said we're in the trough of disillusionment. Why? Because if you think about the quality of the training, ChatGPT was not trained on corporate data, it was trained on Reddit. So therefore, organizations are finding that the source of that data matters a lot, and they're not seeing the benefits that they thought. So they're having to invest money into a product that they thought that they could pay $20 a month per user to do. Talent. Universities are catching up, but it's taking us a while to get these AI graduates out. Why am I so optimistic about it? Let me give you a personal example. So I have an 18-year-old son who's now a freshman at LSU. But when he was a senior in high school, he got hired as a junior AI developer for $15 an hour. He graduated high school, he got a raise to $30 an hour. I moved into the dorm. He is now a freshman getting $50 an hour as a senior AI developer. Oh, and by the way, he's the hiring manager for AI. There's a lack of talent, but there's also a lot of talent out there if you can find it. Data. Companies struggle to get their data ready for analytics, and it's just getting worse now. Culture. People are afraid of their jobs, and they have a right to be. It's up to you to act as a change agent to tell them why not to get concerned, to get scared. And legal. Right now, 41 different states have different laws around AI. We have a patchwork of AI laws, and as we move along with that, then there's also ethical concerns about what we deem to be important or not. All right, some key takeaways here from an organizational perspective. One, AI has to be aligned with business outcomes. Two, you have to be responsible and create ethical AI. Third, you have to enact cultural change to see this investment materialize. Fourth, you have to upskill or reskill your employees. I believe in AI cradle to grave. Everyone needs to know AI, and everyone needs to come to new state to learn. Next, you need to move from a pilot to scale this at an enterprise-wide. Start small, build over time. Go from exploration to transformation. Build data, build governance, and view AI not from the perspective of technology, but from strategy. I teach my students what I call the golden rule. There's no such thing as a technology project. There's just business projects that are about technology. So as I draw to a close in my last few minutes here, let's look ahead. What has happened in 2025? Well, increasingly, instead of large language models, we're seeing much more smaller language models. We're seeing language models targeting specific verticals like law and health. So we're seeing smaller language models. We're seeing advances in hardware and computation. This requires a lot of computational power in order to execute all these models. We're seeing an increased focus on that. For example, here in Louisiana, we're actually seeing one of the biggest data centers in the entire world being built. And it's going to be the size of Manhattan inside of Louisiana. And all that's going to require more space and more servers and more energy. We're seeing AI becoming integrated more into our lives. I don't know about you, but as I mentioned those examples, I'm using Google a whole lot less. I'm turning to AI, and more people are. Earlier, I talked about how it's all text-based. We're going to increasingly see multimodal language models training on video and audio. I think about this as an example. This interaction that we're having right now, it's not even being used to train AI models. So as we're doing this and having these conversations, it's not even being used to train. Let me put this a different way. The only type of text so far that's being trained on AI has been the written text. We talk different than we write, but yet we haven't trained an AI model on how we talk. Lastly, more approaches for training and fine-tuning as well. So let me conclude here by giving you a checklist. Here are some things that you can help to adopt AI in a clear way. One, leadership. This is why it's so important that you come back and learn leadership skills. You will be the champion in your organization. You need to set the vision. Two, get buy-in, build trust, align your stakeholders, let them know what's coming. Third, workforce readiness. Everyone cradle to grave should have training in AI. Everyone in your company should have AI. I think we're going to hit a point where just like we all have to take cybersecurity training, I very well think we may all need AI training at some point. Next, make sure you look at your frameworks and assess where you're at. Do not rush into AI. If you rush in, you're going to very quickly discover that you're going to hit that trough of delusionment also, because your organization just may not be ready. Start with the pilot, get feedback, then scale. And lastly, monitor. Threats are coming, so make sure that you're looking at what come against your AI. Now, I'm going to draw to a close here, and I want to draw to a close by moving to a more macro level. Everyone's scared. The level of anxiety over jobs is palatable. If you build AI the right way, it won't take your job away, but what it will do is it'll take away those boring tasks that drag you down, that are monotonous. So let me ask you, could you imagine your life if all the routines of life were gone and you could imagine focusing on what matters? And what matters is people, critical and people from an abstract perspective, But from a business perspective, it's about critical thinking and strategic sense making and these higher level concepts that AI can't do. But maybe we'll hit a point, and this is my hope and dream, where AI actually may make us more human.